Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. It is Monday, June 22nd. We are officially in summer now, and with us is Congressman Greg Pence. How are you today, sir?
Good morning, Jody. Good. How are you?
I am wonderful. No complaints. It's summer, and so we're here for the warm weather.
Yeah, we always are, aren't we?
Absolutely. We like to make it a little difficult here. We feel like sometimes in the summer you got to chew through the humidity. That's what I always like to call it. That's okay, though. God bless Indiana.
Absolutely.
Well, you have been a very busy man lately, traveling all over the bit. Let's start about, you've been doing some work, of course, in Washington, D.C., and that's with some transportation and infrastructure stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. I have. Last week I went out to Washington on Wednesday. You know, I'm still a little chapped that we have remote committee hearings and proxy voting where others don't have to show up. We the Democrats introduced a bill that has to go through transportation infrastructure, which is my committee, and it's a $500 billion transportation bill. 17 Republicans showed up, 2 Democrats out of 68 House of Representative members that should be on the committee. And in my opening remarks at that committee hearing, I spoke about that. My job is to go out, take my card, vote on behalf of the people of the Indiana 6th District and be there, just like every policeman, fireman, hospital worker, C-store, gas station, on and on. Of course, in Indiana, we're opened up, and
Yes.
in D.C., they have decided that it's not quite ready to open up. So I was out there. I introduced 14 amendments on that bill. I'm proud to say, unlike my peers that were Zooming it in for 14 hours for 2 days in a row, we had to listen to all these amendments. We went from 9 in the morning to about 11 o'clock at night, and I sat there and I introduced some bills. And I'll kind of give you a little bit of a summary of the bills that I introduced. There were 3 rural broadband bills. We've talked about that before, Jody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've because of the pandemic, we've also learned that we can do telehealth on the computer, which is, I know I've talked to a lot of hospitals and physicians and nurses, and they think that's a good technological improvement to medicine. Of course, it's a little less expensive as well. So,
Sure.
you know, we need more rural broadband for the ag industry, for law enforcement, fire, and then pandemic showed us that we need it for education in a situation like this too, because some of the kids don't get good rural broadband where they live. So 3 of those bills, we'll see where that goes.
And that's kind of important because I will say at least 2 of the major school districts so far out of the 10 that we cover have introduced that they will be having the possibility, if parents wish, for 100% online school next year. So rural broadband around this area is more important now than ever, really, with education.
I agree. So much so, Jody, that this bill is not, it's going to pass. We're going to actually vote on it. We mark it up in committee, and then we send it over to the floor, as they say, in the House of Representatives. We're going to vote on it this week. I go back out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We vote on bills. It's going to get out of the House, but the Senate's not going to pick it up. But this rural broadband is so critical.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we'll see something before the end of the summer where both the House and the Senate kind of address the expansion and grant program and funding of that. You know, a lot of dollars came out to the states to help with the impact of the COVID-19 virus, and maybe some of that money can be utilized there. But let me tell you something else about this bill.
Yes.
It had nothing to do with rural, generally speaking, and why I ended up opposing it. The Republicans offered an alternate amendment that did not make it out of committee. But Over 40% of the bill was to fund green, but more important, 90% of it was to fund metropolitan areas and really left us in rural America out. And we've got all kinds of issues. Some of the other amendments that I introduced were critical commerce corridors. Let's get those trucks into their own lane. That was for request for a study to possibly move them into their own lane and get them out of the passenger car lane. Modernizing Agriculture Transportation Act. Farmers have their own trucks, or maybe a truck or two, that they go back and forth, whether it's a grain elevator or to bring the hogs or the beef to slaughterhouses. And they have to adhere to very strict transportation regulations that I think they should be provided some relief. I've actually pushed that one before, and I'll keep pushing that one. And then not only did I offer a Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvement Act, where we got some money for the short rail between Madison and North Vernon this year. We got over $4 million for that. But I also introduced a bill outside of the committee, which was the Rural American Lines Act, which is increasing the funding for railroad crossing. I introduced that amendment for the transportation bill. I also introduced a bill to the floor. Hopefully we will vote on it. The good news is I had a Democrat co-sponsor, and we're working with Senator Braun's office to get this same bill introduced in the Senate, and that bill would actually take funding from $7,500 in grants to $100,000 for rural rail crossings where we can make them more safe and upgrade the old ones that have deteriorated. So
Sure.
That's kind of what I did out in D.C. for many, many hours.
You also worked on, or you're currently working on, an act for funding in police matters.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. We have three perfect storm issues going on here. We have the pandemic. We have an extremely serious economic situation going on. Thank God that the governor has done a great job. We're open back up. Businesses are coming back. That means jobs are going to be there for folks. And then the third is the social justice one, which, we have a whole group of folks in this country that have been treated unfairly, feel that some things need to be done. And I think the right thing to do is address their concerns. So I co-sponsored what is called the Justice Act, or as other folks call it, it's the Senator Scott and Representative Pete Stauber, very good friend of mine. He and I actually go to church every morning when we're out there. So it's the Scott Stauber Act, Justice Act, and that provides additional funding for law enforcement agencies, transparency, and training grants. So for those law enforcement agencies that need those things. Now, let me say, I am 100% against defunding police. We live in Indiana, in southern Indiana, and 99.9% of all law enforcement officers are doing a fabulous, fantastic job serving their community. When I hear folks say the vast majority, I don't agree with that. I live down the street, literally a few houses from law enforcement. I grew up with law enforcement. In Indiana, we know our law enforcement, and they know us. And so I can say 99.9% of them are fabulous members of the community, and they need support in providing the financial and training support and holding accountability and transparency. I went around last week before I went back to D.C. and the week before, and I talked to law enforcement. They're completely supportive of additional help, which I co-sponsored that bill.
Now, this bill will help with the increase of purchasing for body cameras for officers. Are you as surprised as I was that Bartholomew County officers, the sheriff's department, did not have body cams?
Yeah, it's always a budget thing. Not only I was actually trying to help the sheriff last week. There's some dollars for some seized property that he would like to convert to body camera purchases. You know, it's a funding issue, and again, where you don't have a major problem in a certain community, like Bartholomew County or Southern Indiana, where maybe body cameras aren't as critical, that has not been a priority. But I think that should be and will become a priority. And that's where Congress can help and states can help local communities that have limited funds, especially in this time of financial crisis, let's call it. Cities and counties aren't going to have more money next year. We're all going to have less money to deal with. So
sure.
I think it's the right thing for Congress to help them out.
Now, you did mention, with this and other things, you're out and you're listening to what the constituents are saying, and you are going to be out this week. Is your meeting in Shelbyville tomorrow? Is that open to the public?
Yeah. Yep. I go. We go out to events all the time. We usually kind of we don't post it real far in advance, Jody, because we don't know right now with the remote voting and the Democrats kind of keeping the Republicans in the dark. We don't know when I'll have to go out to D.C. or when I'm available. And that's pretty much what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Yeah, but we do these events all the time.
Excellent. So where can we find...
I actually did Madison last week, and I've slept since then. What else I did? Oh, North Vernon. So yeah, I get out and about as much as I can when I'm not out in D.C. I come home every weekend.
Excellent. Where can we find you this week?
You'll find me Wednesday headed back out to D.C. to vote on probably the transportation bill and I hope, the Justice Act on Thursday or Friday.
Excellent. Well, safe travels, and thank you so much. We always appreciate talking with you each week.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Jody.